to the 7th episode of the Full of Football podcast, Season 2. I'm Austin Thomas.
I'm Conor Lueck.
And in this episode, we're going to be going over everything that happened in Week 3, and then we're going to be making our predictions for Week 4. So make sure to like and subscribe if you aren't already, and make sure to leave any comments if you ever have any questions throughout the video, because we would love to respond to them in the next video or in the comments section below. So without further ado, I say let's get right on in with our injury report. Alright, and for the injury report here, let's start off with some of the more minor ones. We got Scotty Miller, the wide receiver number 4 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is now going to be put on IR with turf toe.
Fastest wide receiver on that team,
I mean, alright, so Scotty Miller being out is not as big of a deal as we would have thought at the original part of the season, because Antonio Brown's really filled a role on that team, and Scotty Miller has more been delegated to just in case they can't get it to one of those guys.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's going to be a role that's easily replaced for them.
Yep.
Next injury we have Julio Jones. He has a leg injury. He is questionable for the game coming up, and extremely questionable when I say that.
It's against the Jets. In my opinion, I think it'd just be better to rest him. You don't want to risk him because he's very injury prone, as we've seen over the past couple seasons. Rest him against the Jets. It's basically a gimme win because it's the Jets.
Yeah.
They're terrible. But just rest him. You don't have to make him play.
I say, if you think he's really healthy enough, you can play him on a limited snap count.
That's the most you can do.
I wouldn't say play him at all, like the whole game.
Yeah.
Unless for some reason you're down. Wait, why do I even mention that? That's not going to happen.
You wouldn't be down against the Jets.
Yeah.
It's the Jets.
So, either way, you got a good enough running game. You don't really need him.
Yeah.
But it is something to watch out for, just to make sure that it doesn't turn into anything more. Talking about turning into more, we had KJ Hamler, the third string wide receiver on the Denver Broncos.
Really? Who's second?
You have Judy at 2, Cortland Sutton at 1. And then, or I guess Tim Patrick would have been 3.
I would put KJ over him, to be honest.
They're kind of interchangeable right there.
Yeah.
But KJ Hamler has an ACL tear, and he will be out for the rest of the season. So definitely cutting down on that Broncos core of wide receivers there. So now you really only have Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick. So bit scary to be looking at.
He only has 5 receptions this entire year, and it's just can't be having that happening, especially if you want to be a true wide receiver 2, 3. Against the Ravens this week, you're going to need guys like KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy to play, but they're injured, and Broncos are going to be 3-1 after this week.
Ooh, that's a prediction right there. All right, well, let's get on into our next injury. We got a couple of Panthers injuries here. One big one is CMC. Christian McCaffrey is going to be out about 2 weeks is what is expected. They didn't end up putting him on IR, expecting a return 3 weeks after the injury, but definitely going to be a big blow to that Carolina Panthers team. Are they 3-0 right now?
They are. But then again, their schedule has been
easy.
Cupcake.
But still, being 3-0, you don't want to have that first game. You have the momentum to win that next game that most likely the other team doesn't.
Yeah.
Who's Carolina playing this week?
Carolina's
playing Dallas, and Dallas is going to be a test for them.
Team.
And so without Christian McCaffrey, that's going to be tough. But also without J.C. Horn, the rookie cornerback, he's going to be going on IR, so he will be missing 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So that is officially going to be a big blow for them. But that secondary is going to be looking to get improved upon with potentially a trade or something with a team like the Jaguars for a guy like C.J. Henderson.
I could see it happening. I'm not going to say it will happen. I don't see why they would ever do that. But
I don't know. Just with the injury there, you could see it. All right, next injury we have Quentin Nelson.
We are just not on the right page filming today. Our mistakes have been up here. Normally we're down here, but we're just...
So Quentin Nelson, not Nelson Aguilar. Quentin Nelson has a high ankle sprain and is likely going to be put on the IR shortly. And now, before the season, the Colts were looking at it and they saw Carson Wentz, Quentin Nelson. They thought they were going to be missing them for the first 3 games. They ended up playing for the first 3 games, but it's going to be the next 3 games, though, that they're going to be out. So
maybe it would have been better if they just didn't have him play the first 2 games, because maybe they would have been like 1-2 or something. No, they're 0-3. Oh my gosh.
Quentin Nelson, you can't blame him for those losses.
You know who you can? Mr. Injury Prone himself, Carson Wentz. Next injury.
All right, next injury we have James White with a hip subluxation or something like that. I think or subluxation, hip subluxation. It was hip subligation, There's an X in there and there's an S in there and it's like something. Let's find the official term for it real quick. Subluxation. I was right on my first guess.
Yep.
So he's come down with a hip subluxation, so he's likely going to be out for a couple weeks now. That's going to basically leave Damian Harris alone in that backfield.
Running back one.
And if something happens to him, it's the Ramondre Stevenson show. Stevenson. Yes, Stevenson.
Oh my gosh.
But that's going to be opening up some more opportunities for Ramondre Stevenson, but also for Damian Harris. Although, for the team overall, that offense isn't good to begin with. And when you're losing one of the best pass-catching running backs in the league, when you're losing him, that hurts.
Yeah. Especially against this week's opponent. I mean, the reigning Super Bowl champs, Tom Brady on his return to Foxborough.
Well, I mean, it's still going to be a must-see matchup, but
until it goes 21-0.
We'll talk about that later in the weekly predictions. But anyway, let's get on to the next injury report. Here we got Teron Armstead got an elbow injury for the Saints, and he is likely going to be out multiple weeks. Now, this is going to be extremely tough for the Saints, who have had probably the most inconsistent start out of any team right now. I mean, they had week 1 where they just destroyed the Packers, amazing on offense and defense, and then they had week 2 where they got blown out
by Carolina. And then week 3,
was
blowout out New England.
Yeah, week 3 was kind of a blowout of New England. So they've had they've had different games. Could we see them going back and just have a terrible game? Because, well, now Teron Armstead's gone. You never know. You really
never know with Jameis Winston. You never know.
You really don't. But I guess we will find out this week. But losing Teron Armstead, one of the best tackles in the league, that sucks.
Let's get on to the new news.
All right, to start off the new news section here, we have Josh Gordon, Flash Gordon, signing with none other than the 2 years ago Super Bowl champions,
the reigning AFC,
the losing Super Bowl team from last year. Josh Gordon is going to be signing with the Kansas City Chiefs.
He found out that weed is legal in Missouri if you have a medical card, and he was like, Andy, I know you just went to the hospital. I mean,
he's probably got some leftovers, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Might as well hit him up. And Andy Reid said, I mean, yeah, sure, I'll share some.
Yeah, I don't want DeMarcus Robinson as my wide receiver 3. Oh.
Definitely going to be extremely nice for the Chiefs here, who have had, probably the best start they've had in decades, right? Great start for the Chiefs. Really, really good start.
Amazing.
They definitely didn't need this help, but they got it anyway.
And they definitely didn't need any defensive. Maybe they just, I think they would even do better if they didn't start Daniel Sorensen.
He has good plays sometimes. You know who we didn't end up signing? And you know what else is on the new news? Richard Sherman, the cornerback, former All-Pro. The Chiefs didn't pursue him. You know who did? The team that needs more defense.
The team that just lost
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The team that just lost to the Rams, future NFC champions. They're going to lose to the Super Bowl, of course.
Okay, yeah, but Richard Sherman signing with the Bucs here just to improve that cornerback core even more. That defense is really just, it's just shooting up there. There's not really much higher you can get than that defense unless you're playing the Rams.
It's a questionable signing, but it's not as questioning as why the Bears haven't released who their starting quarterback is. I mean, is Andy Dalton healthy? Is Justin Fields going to play? I mean, Justin Fields, his game has been terrible.
He's been very not good for the Bears to start off the season. And again, he's only had one start, and it's under a new coach who sucks. So you'll have to see how he gets, adapted to the situation. But one thing that we all know is if they start Nick Foles, they're losing.
Yeah.
So
I don't think there's any doubt that Nick Foles won't even play, but there's no chance he plays. There's no doubt in my mind he plays. He doesn't play. If he plays, Matt Nagy needs to go.
He's needed to go for a while.
That's fair. He's terrible.
In all honesty, I think Nick Foles plays. I think he does, and that means that I also think that the Bears lose.
They'll lose no matter what. It's Chicago, baby.
Well, okay, if you have Justin Fields, there's always a chance that he, does something. He is Justin Fields.
Not last week.
He hasn't. Last week he sucked, but he was also going up against a pretty good defense in the Cleveland Browns. So you really got to see what he does against the.
It's interesting.
It is an interesting situation.
It's not as interesting as Marlon Mack requested a trade from the Indianapolis Colts. In my opinion, it looks like he's been the running back one of that team this season. He's been better than Jonathan Taylor.
He's been about the same, I would say. You look at their production, it's been similar.
But Jonathan Taylor should be the running back one because he's the better running back. But Marlon Mack's putting up the same amount of stats. It just looks like maybe Mack, he wants to go and be running back one somewhere else because he's, in my opinion, I'd take him over Taylor.
Mm-hmm. And you know who should be looking at him right now?
Who?
Miami.
Really?
I think Miami would be a great fit for Marlon Mack.
I do like that.
Although they should definitely add some more offensive line too.
Yeah.
So
I think we should stay in the AFC East. And really interesting story here. The Patriots owner Robert Kraft, the man who has 6 rings under his belt as an owner, called Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick the biggest fucking asshole in my life.
why did you bring this up?
How is the Patriots owner going to call Bill Belichick that? That makes no sense to me. If you don't like him, fire him. You're the owner.
Okay.
If you don't like him as a person, you can fire him. Because he let your Hall of Fame quarterback walk because of him. But you're going to keep the coach and not the player.
To be fair here, I don't think they could easily release him because it's Bill Belichick. And if he did end up saying, hey, Belichick, get out of here, that's saying goodbye to your franchise's greatest coach of all time.
But you let the greatest player in NFL history walk over the greatest coach of all time.
He was also 43 at the time and didn't have a good season
And he
the prior
just
season.
won a Super Bowl.
The priors up to that point, when they made the decision, Tom Brady was 43, and the year prior, he wasn't good.
And then the year after, he goes and wins a Super Bowl. And maybe it's the talent around him, but still, Bill Belichick gets all these scrawny little white dudes from Walmart, put them at wide receiver, puts an okay offensive line, and gets an alright defense, and Tom Brady carries them to a Super Bowl. It happens. It happens 6 times.
All right, well, anyway, another quarterback situation that we have to talk about, not Tom Brady, but Brett Hundley was officially named the backup over Jacob Eason, which means that Hundley will likely be starting if Carson Wentz stays out. So last week it was supposed to be a 50-50 split. It's now going to be purely Hundley.
I really like Jacob Eason in the preseason too. So.
He did look pretty good, but Brett Hundley been a backup all of his career.
Yeah.
And you saw him with the Packers for a stint.
Oh, for very long.
He was a pretty good replacement for Aaron Rodgers in that time. Yes, the Packers did lose when Aaron Rodgers got injured, but he at least was serviceable at the time. Yeah. And I think that's a similar situation here with the Colts.
Although I wouldn't compare Carson Wentz to Aaron Rodgers, but
no, I'm saying that he's going to play a similar role.
I mean, I could see it. Yeah.
The team is barely going to get worse between Carson Wentz and Brett Hundley.
I don't know if you can get worse.
Okay, fair. But anyway, earlier we had mentioned a possible trade,
a mock trade, and we just received news that this mock trade isn't just a mock trade; it's a real
trade. A player named Dan Arnold was officially traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars for C.J. Henderson, the former number 9 overall pick from just last year, not this season, but the previous season. 2 drafts ago, he was drafted number 9 overall, and they're already saying, you know what, let's just give him up for, a tight end that isn't even like top 15.
And a 3rd round pick.
And a 3rd round pick, yeah. So,
I mean, Dan Arnold, he's been alright with Sam Darnold. I mean, I would have liked
Darnold to Arnold.
I was going to say, I would have
fun.
liked that combination, but I mean, the Jaguars are a joke. You really just want to lose. Trevor Lawrence needs to walk as soon as he can. Cause
I don't know if he's going to be able to walk.
just don't sign with him.
No. After what you're seeing with this O-line, it might be a Joe Burrow situation.
Yeah, it's terrible what you're seeing right now.
Well, this is a great trade for the Panthers, though.
Oh, yeah.
I think you replace J.C. Horn right now,
and then
when J.C. Horn gets back, you have 2 number 10 overall picks at cornerback.
And pray to God they don't bust.
And I mean, you'll likely one of them will bust. Likely one of them is going to
be a bust.
Likely one of them is going to be a bust, and likely one of them is going to be amazing.
I wouldn't say amazing. I'd say
that would be my guess.
I would say solid, not a boom, but a solid. Is that all we have?
All right. Well, that is going to close out our new news segment for right now. So let's get on into our best performances. So for our best performances here, let's start off with quarterback. The number 1 and most impressive quarterback from last week, Josh Allen versus the Washington football team. He went 32 completions, 43 attempts, 358 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and rushed 4 times for only 9 yards, but also a touchdown. So he had 5 total touchdowns in that game.
Against one of the NFL's best defenses.
Supposedly. But this Bills offense has just been amazing throughout the start of the year, and Josh Allen really performed that week against Washington. Not really much you can get better than that.
Yeah.
All right, and for our running back, our most impressive running back was going to be Peyton Barber versus Miami. He rushed 23 times for 111 yards and 1 touchdown. Also had 3 receptions for 31 yards. Didn't have a touchdown receiving. But he was a bell cow for the Raiders against Miami. And he was a huge reason to their success. Only reason they beat Miami was because that rush game was so good because of Peyton Barber.
Yeah. I mean, he's not even running back 1 or 2. He's running back 3.
Well, he's more of a rushing running back than Kenyon Drake.
Oh, yeah.
Kenyon Drake does not get rushes.
Kenyon Drake will still be above him on the depth chart, so therefore he's
officially, yes.
Wide receiver. Mike Williams versus Kansas City. 7 receptions, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. Can't get better than that.
And Mike Williams has looked really good this year.
Yeah,
he's similar to Josh Allen, except Josh Allen was projected to be good. Mike Williams was projected to be just another guy that was solid, helped your team out, but he wasn't expected to have this kind of production throughout the season.
It is against the Chiefs. Dock off a point for that because it's the Chiefs.
But not to mention, he is still the number 2 wide receiver when he did this.
Oh, yeah.
He also had a
more
struggling Justin Herbert entering this game.
Then Justin Herbert didn't struggle.
He didn't.
Tight end, Dalton Schultz versus Philadelphia. 6 receptions, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns on 6 receptions. Let me do the math real quick. That's
40 per 3, 13.33 yards per reception. Is that what you're looking at?
No, I'm looking at the touchdown to reception.
Oh. You mean .333 touchdowns per reception?
Why would it be if he had 6 receptions? That's a touchdown every 3 receptions.
1 out of 3.
That's 33%, not point. It's 33% of him scoring a touchdown when he caught the ball. That's really, really good. Is he the tight end 1?
I would say so. I mean, officially, I think it's Blake Jarwin, but Dalton Schultz throughout the year has really surpassed Blake Jarwin. I don't see how you could enter Week 4 not listing him as the number 1 tight end. So, Dalton Schultz definitely great. Blake Jarwin has taken kind of a backseat there. But I didn't get to watch the game because I was working that night. But
I was working too. Let's do pass rusher of the week. Myles Garrett, my lord. That is unacceptable. You are bullying a rookie quarterback. You need to go to detention. 7 tackles and 4.5 sacks. A franchise record for the poverty Cleveland Browns.
So there's one thing with Chandler Jones getting 5 sacks against an experienced NFL quarterback in Kyler Murray. There's a different thing
Against Kyler Murray?
Sorry.
We are we are struggling today.
All right. Well, either way, Chandler Jones got 5 sacks against an experienced quarterback. So
Who was it?
It was that one quarterback.
I don't remember, honestly.
It was a very forgettable night for them.
I don't remember who it was against. It was against Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill has a lot of experience. Justin Fields, that was his first start of his career.
And you knew that. The Bears, they netted 1 passing yard that entire game. 1. He may have had like 56 passing yards. But, I mean, I think there was like a loss of 55 too. Like that is just, oh my gosh.
Oh, you mean not you? So they had total yards?
Yeah, total
1.
Yeah.
I didn't look into that, but I know Myles Garrett was a huge proponent of that. And talking about Cardinals players and defense, let's get on into our defensive back of the week. It was Byron Murphy versus the Jacksonville Jaguars here. He had 4 tackles, but 2 interceptions. It was against the Jaguars.
It was against Trevor Lawrence, rookie quarterback.
Who's been one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks of the season.
Not as bad as Zach Wilson.
Not quite, but he also is on the Jets, so what can you say?
That's fair.
Either way,
it's the Jets.
Still a great game from Byron Murphy. He played great coverage and really just tormented Jacksonville that game.
Yeah.
All right.
Talk about your picks of the week last week.
Let's get into our pick of the week here. My pick of the week from last week, I had actually previously recorded a video. I didn't end up posting it because it was just me and it got really late. So didn't end up posting it, but in that video I had made breakouts and disappointment player of the week predictions, and in that I had predicted that Adam Troutman was going to be my disappointment tight end of the week, and what would you know, he had 0 receptions, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 fantasy points. He dropped goose eggs all around the board. Adam Troutman was my pick of the week.
I would like to say, I was undefeated last week in picks. I didn't make a single wrong selection.
Okay, you know what? Who really cares about that? Either way, let's get on into making you not undefeated anymore because we're going to be getting into our breakouts of the week. All right, and for our breakouts of the week, let's start off with our quarterback of the week. And my quarterback breakout of the week, this was very tough for me. I really didn't know who to choose here. So I ended up choosing Jameis Winston as my quarterback breakout against the New York Giants.
It's his down week this week, actually. So
I think so. It's probably going to be like the San Francisco Giants of baseball, where it's like odd years they win.
Yeah, it's like every
they suck every odd year, but
odd week is good for Jameis. Every even week is bad for Jameis.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, unfortunately, I'm going to be proven wrong here. But the Saints are playing an amazing matchup. The Giants have sucked on defense.
They're terrible. They're the worst team in the NFL. I don't care what anyone says.
The second worst defense in the NFL.
Who's first?
Maybe third. New York.
Yeah, I know. Who's first?
New York is first.
Yeah, no. The Giants. Yeah.
No, the Giants are second. New York is first.
Yeah, no. The Giants are New York. Oh my God, you mean the Jets. Don't they have a defensive coach in Robert Saleh? How? They have like Quinnen Williams. How are they so
They do not have Quinnen Williams. Isn't he injured?
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe it's just because...
I thought so. I might be wrong about that. I thought he was injured. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're wrong, dude.
I guess he isn't injured. But they're sure playing like he's injured. He's also literally...
He's been playing. He has 1.5 sacks against Denver.
Okay, well, let's put this out here. that defense has still sucked. So you can't really say that that's not. But the New York Giants also sucked. So Jameis Winston, he's going to be looking to continue week 1 and week 3 into week 4 and forget about week 2 and destroy the New York Giants here because they're the Saints.
I got Joe Burrow versus Jacksonville tomorrow night or
Easy.
tonight, whenever you put this out, Austin. But
I think I'm putting it out on Thursday.
Yeah.
So
Tonight, Jacksonville's defense is just, and they just lost probably their best corner in my opinion. They have one of the Griffin twins.
Yeah, they have Shaq.
So
Griffin,
he's pretty good.
So.
But he's one of the. They just lost one of their best cornerbacks, and I feel like Cincinnati's due for torching somebody up. I mean, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. I mean, those two are just gonna.
They're too good to not have it happen.
Even with their O-line, who's not even that bad, still not top 10.
Oh, it's not even top 20. That O-line?
It's not that bad.
It's not
that
bad.
good.
It's bad.
But
it's not terrible, but it's bad.
But Joe Burrow's going to be able to torch him up. That's all that matters. Running backs.
All right, I'll explain mine right here. So I kind of had 2 picks. I have 1 pick right here that I wanted to put it out here. You know what? I'm only going to have my 1 pick. My 1 running back breakout of the week is Derrick Henry.
This isn't even like a breakout. Dude,
just put
up 50 fantasy points in week 2.
I think listen to me here, it's the New York Jets. You're going to want to rest Julio. You're going to be up by a ton, so you don't throw the ball ever, basically. This is Derrick Henry's team. He owns the New York Jets.
That's true.
He might put up 60 in fantasy.
If he puts up 60 in fantasy, I'll shriek my high school football game. I will go 60. Yeah, we'll go 60 because that's really no one's ever put up 60, right?
Highest. Let me look that up. Highest fantasy single game fantasy points ever. Let's look this up. We'll be right back.
Okay, so 59.5 by Jamar. If he puts up 60, I may shriek high school football game. Not naked, but I'll shriek the field.
Oh my goodness, and we're going to have to be broadcasting that game. Next Friday is the homecoming football game.
Oh my gosh, it's the homecoming game.
So if Derrick Henry ends up
making the news.
You might end up making the news on the homecoming football game if you end up... I don't want to lock you into this. Because there is a good chance that Derrick Henry ends up breaking the fantasy point record against the New York Jets here. If there was a week where somebody would break it, it would be this week.
He'd need 3 touchdowns and a bunch, I don't even know.
He would need 250 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns.
It's so insane. Anyways,
but against the Jets,
it's possible.
There is a possibility that happens.
Yeah. My running back is going to be Miles Sanders versus Kansas City. We've seen this Kansas City rush defense against a team that actually is good at rushing the ball. I mean, the Chargers, they have a good running back, but he's also he's better at receiving than rushing. And as soon as Kansas City stopped with their stopped their Chargers run game, they started passing. They barely ran the ball at all. Miles Sanders, Philadelphia, they run the ball. They run. Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders, they can run the ball against a bad rushing defense.
Have you forgotten about Gainwell?
Gainwell too. But I can see Miles Sanders doing better. You don't know how many times those Gainwell and Sanders rushed the ball against Dallas?
How much?
3 times.
What's the stat? Yeah. And that's against a bad defense.
That's against a bad defense. This is a bad rushing defense.
Okay.
I see them, Miles Sanders. He's not gonna go for Derrick Henry numbers, but he's gonna put up better than the rest of his season numbers. He's gonna have a great week.
Okay. Maybe, I don't know, but let's get on into our wide receiver breakout. My wide receiver breakout of the week was Darnell Mooney versus Detroit. Now, it's Detroit. That's the main reason I picked this. But this also really depends on who they end up choosing as their quarterback. If it ends up being Nick Foles, I would immediately change that. I would not choose your breakout, but I would choose somebody else. Almost anybody else besides Darnell Mooney. Because if it's Nick Foles thrown to him with Matt Nagy calling the plays, you're not looking at a good game. But if it's Justin Fields or Andy Dalton throwing to him, you could definitely see Darnell Mooney breaking out this game against Detroit. He's gotten tons of targets and looks from his quarterbacks through these first 3 weeks. Tons of them. I think he had 7 targets week 1, 8 targets week 2, and then only 4 last week. But last week was kind of an outlier because they sucked. But definitely look for it against a bad Detroit defense. You could definitely see it.
Yeah. My breakout wide receiver, very interesting. Josh Gordon against Philadelphia, if he plays.
They say that he's not supposed to play.
Really?
I just saw that. He's not. Andy Reid had said he's not likely to play week 4.
Well, it's a good thing I just put my backup, Calvin Ridley against Washington. He's due for a breakout game, man. He is due.
Maybe.
And I'm very good at calling players whenever they're due for something. Last night, this is completely unrelated, but I told my friend, Salvador Perez is due for a home run. He's going to hit one tonight. What do you do? Hit number 47.
That's a different sport.
No, it's not. This is all the same thing. I'm good at telling. I know what I'm talking about here. All right. Calvin Ridley is due for a game, and he's just so happening to play a defense who just gave up 43 points. I'm not saying the Falcons are the Bills, but Calvin Ridley's better, almost as good as any wide receiver on that Bills team. He's due for a breakout game.
It's still the Falcons.
I don't care. I don't want to hear it from you. You
All
just
right.
pick some no-name for your
Our
breakout
tight end breakouts, because I have been very good at picking our tight end breakouts throughout this year. I choose Tommy Tremble versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, he was on the Panthers last week when they still had Dan Arnold, and he did well. I see that continuing into this week. You're playing a team that, again, has a bad defense, but you also traded away Dan Arnold. So all of these tight end looks are going to be going to Tommy Tremble. And Carolina, they don't just want to throw to that wide receiver core. You're going to want to throw to a guy like Tommy Tremble. And he, I think, is going to be the breakout tight end of this week.
I got Rob Gronkowski versus New England.
Gronk.
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 I got Rob Gronk versus New England. It's his homecoming game against the Patriots. I think Tom Brady and him just have a connection. I think it's more than a football connection. I think it's a love connection. They love each other. And I think they're just going to absolutely destroy all New England fans mentally. I just think that's what's going to happen.
Why do we always choose Gronk in these?
No, because last year you would always pick him as disappointment.
Or breakout.
No, in the playoffs last year you always had him as disappointment. And, who's their backup? O.J. Howard as their breakout because you just thought Gronk would have a bad game. Never had a bad game. Let's get on to our disappointment players, shall we?
All right, and for our disappointment player number 1, we're going to go with our quarterbacks here. And my disappointment quarterback is someone who's been pretty good, one of the best quarterbacks so far this season. Kyler Murray. He's playing the Los Angeles Rams. They have a great defense. They have been amazing to start this year. I see that much of continuing. Last game, Kyler did not have a great game.
No.
I see that continuing against a better defense here in the Los Angeles Rams, one of the best in the league, if not the best. Again, that's debatable.
Yeah.
But still, great defense here with Kyler Murray going up against it. You definitely don't even see close to the production that you saw those first 2 weeks.
Yeah. For my disappointment quarterback, I got Sam Darnold versus Dallas.
Not this week. Not this week.
The Darnold to Arnold connection is gone. Therefore, Sam Darnold is going back to his roots in New York. That's just what's going to happen.
Darnold to Arnold had 8 receptions throughout 3 games.
And it was the best connection. They also lost CMC, the best receiving back in the NFL. Who's he going to dump it down to? Tommy Tremble? Chuba? He's not CMC. He's not CMC. That's all that matters. Who's your running back?
My running back breakout disappointment why do I keep saying breakout? My running back disappointment this week, Najee Harris versus the Green Bay Packers. Najee Harris, again, preseason I had picked him as my disappointment running back. In week 1 I had picked him as my disappointment running back, and he did disappoint. So far, the last 2 games he's been pretty good. But this week they're going up against Green Bay. Expectations are extremely high because this is not a good, what has been a good run-stopping team. But what I think is going to happen, I think Green Bay takes an early lead here, and they try to run the ball. Green Bay's able to stop them a bit, but they're going to stop them enough so that Green Bay builds a lead with that high-powered offense, and then they're going to feel like they need to throw the ball.
Yeah.
They aren't going to...
You can't throw the ball with Big Ben, though. He's terrible.
You really can't, and that's also why I think Najee Harris is going to end up disappointing. He might get a couple receptions because of check down passes, but he's not going to be doing what he did last week with like 14 receptions or whatever.
Yeah.
He's not going to be doing that again. He isn't going to get the runs, and it's going to be a game for the others on the Pittsburgh team.
My disappointment running back is David Montgomery versus Detroit. I've got some bold picks.
You got some bad defenses where you picked good players. Have played bad defenses and disappointed.
You expect them to get like 20 fantasy points. It's just not gonna happen. The Detroit Tigers are gonna be a pain in teams behind this year.
I don't think so. The Detroit Tigers suck. They're eliminated.
Oh my God! Dude, I am not in it today. The Detroit Lions are gonna be. I'm surprised you caught that. If you would have said it out, I'm like, yep. The Detroit Lions are going to be in a pain in teams' behinds this year. I mean, they were flirting with Green Bay for a while. They were flirting with Baltimore, and then Justin Tucker just released his mega balls on everyone.
Were they really flirting with the Green Bay Packers?
For the first half, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
And then Jared Goff happened. But they were messing with the Ravens. I mean, that team is a rushing team.
They almost won.
And then Justin Tucker. Oh my.
Justin Tucker. What? I swear, I watched that kick live. I thought this is going in before he kicked it.
Yeah.
And
that's so amazing.
But
yeah, David Montgomery is just not gonna have that great of a day. He's not gonna put up what many people think he will.
Mm-hmm.
I dislike your disappointment player.
Yeah, well, obviously, because I disliked your breakout player, my disappointment wide receiver, Calvin Ridley versus Washington. Washington had a bad game last week. You're looking at this game and you're thinking, Calvin Ridley's great. The Falcons just won. Washington failed. You're thinking everything is going in Calvin Ridley's direction. But once you get to the game, you're going to realize that was all just talk. The Falcons still suck. Calvin Ridley did not do well, hasn't done well these first few games. I see that continuing against a stout defense in the Washington football team. They had the Buffalo Bills last week. That's who they were playing. That is the best defense in the league right now. I mean offense, sorry. The best offense in the league at the moment. The Falcons are not even close to that kind of offensive potential.
Yeah.
Their offensive line also is going to be getting dominated by that Washington D-line, giving no time for Matt Ryan to get the ball off. So there is not going to be a single ball that's going to be thrown deep because that D-line is going to be getting to him way too quickly.
My disappointment wide receiver is Mike Evans versus New England. I think the Brady to Gronk love relationship is just going to be too strong. And if any wide receiver is going to be getting any touches, it could probably be A.B. or Godwin. But Evans is just too touchdown dependent.
He's a third wheel?
Yeah. No, he's not even third. He's like
fifth wheel?
Yeah.
Third wheel is...
If he doesn't get a touchdown, he's not going to get a lot of points. And that just... I don't see them getting a lot of touchdowns to Evans' way.
All right, let's get on into tight ends here. My disappointment tight end, Mike Gesicki versus Indianapolis. Indianapolis has been pretty good. Mike Gesicki has not been. I just see much more of the same. People are thinking, oh, it's Gesicki, he'll break out. This isn't the best defense in the world, maybe against Indianapolis. No, just cut down your expectations.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
My disappointment tight end is Kyle Pitts versus Washington. He hasn't done anything great all season long. And I think it's just time that people realize that. Because people still have these high expectations for him. He's in a Falcons offense this low. Their best target is Calvin Ridley by a mile. Calvin Ridley's going to get all these targets this game, and he's going to break out. Kyle Pitts is going to be left in the dust with like 2 receptions and 15 yards or something like that. I just don't see him having a great game.
Yeah, because they're definitely going to be able to throw it deep with all that time that they have and not check it down whenever they're getting pressured because they aren't going to get pressured.
Yep, sounds right to me. How about our weekly matchups this week and our predictions?
All right, yeah, well, let's get right into that. All right, for the weekly matchups here, let's get off with our standings real quick. A standings update is based on all of the weekly matchups that we have made in previous episodes, added them all together to see where we are right now. I am in first place with 28 wins and 20 losses, so out of the 48 games that have been played, I have 28 of them correct, 20 of them have been wrong. Conor here, he has been 6-10 in his 1 week of predictions from week 1.
It was rough.
And yeah, he's
We're going 16-0 this week, though.
You never know, but either way, let's get right on into our weekly matchups here. So Jacksonville versus Cincinnati, we already disagree here. I'm going Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence finally finds a bit of a groove here. No. He doesn't dominate, but Cincinnati does not have a defense similar to Jacksonville. Jacksonville has Trevor Lawrence, DJ Shark. They have these guys.
DJ Shark?
Shark.
CH. Not
It's
SH.
Shark in my eyes.
Okay. Well, you already taken one out on your
They
prediction. Now you're
also
taking another.
are now getting Dan Arnold to the
Is
team.
he playing?
I believe so.
Well, Tim Tebow's better, so it doesn't even matter.
And you see, they had Mannertz
No idea.
as their tight end, who nobody really knows who their tight end was. Now you got Dan Arnold.
Tim Tebow.
So now it's going to be a guy that at least can hold down the spot. And that is going to be big against a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who has had to throw the ball in places that he doesn't want because he's getting pressured.
Yeah.
And now he's going to have this option here for them to throw to. I think it's going to be a big key to this new Jacksonville offense, and especially against a team like Cincinnati, who has been very iffy so far.
Yeah, I just think Cincinnati's the better team. I think Joe Burrow's the better quarterback. I think they have a better offense. And in a game like this, the better offense will win because there is no defense going to be played.
All right, next game we got the Carolina Panthers versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now we've got a 2-1 team in the Cowboys playing a 3-0 team against the Panthers. We both chose the Dallas Cowboys here.
Yeah.
The Cowboys' offense has looked very good, and especially last week. They were dominant against the Eagles. And this Carolina team, they have had a weaker schedule compared to other teams, like the Cowboys, for example. And the Cowboys, I see them showing that true offensive potential. And that defense, it's there. It's not completely non-existent. They at least can make a couple stops here and there, which is all you need against a team like Carolina right now.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas, they have more impressive wins than Carolina, and their loss was more impressive than, in my opinion, any of Carolina's wins. I mean, they played the Super Bowl champs and lost because it's Tom Brady. I mean, they were going to lose.
Exactly. But let's get on into our next game here. We got the Cleveland Browns versus
Guardians.
I went Cleveland Indians, and then I thought Cleveland Cavaliers, and then I thought Cleveland Guardians.
We got the Indians or the Guardians versus the Twins tonight.
They're not the Guardians yet. They're still the Indians.
We'll get canceled for saying the Indians, so we gotta say Guardians.
All right, well, the Cleveland Browns are going up against the Minnesota Vikings here. I chose the Cleveland Browns.
I like Minnesota.
The Cleveland Browns looked great on defense against the Bears last week. Now, it was the Bears and first-time QB Justin Fields, but they still have had a pretty good defense here, and they went head-to-head with Kansas City week 1, which now that I'm thinking about it, that was their only win.
No.
So,
They beat
Kansas City's only win.
Yeah, and that's a very impressive win.
It wasn't that impressive.
It was pretty impressive. It's the Browns. Browns are very good.
Browns are still a good team. Minnesota's not.
I like Minnesota. I really like their offense, and their defense is able to hold up. They've played some very impressive games. It's a bold choice, I know, but I just think that they have a very good chance to upset Cleveland, and I see them doing it.
All right, let's get on to another upset option here. We had Detroit versus Chicago. I chose Chicago.
I chose Detroit
Now,
Lions.
again,
I was going to say Tigers.
the Bears' situation is going to depend entirely on if Nick Foles plays or not.
He's not playing. He's not playing.
I think they might. I think if Nick Foles plays, the Bears lose. If he doesn't, the Bears win. It all comes down to, because injuries. You didn't realize, I don't think, Justin Fields has a hand injury. Andy Dalton is also still coming off of that injury. So it's depending on if they're healthy enough to play this game and keep Nick Foles on the bench. It's trying to keep Nick Foles on the bench that might end up being a problem.
Yeah, I hope Nick Foles plays. I think Detroit, they are due for a win. I mean, they just lost a heartbreaker. They're due for a win, and this is a very winnable game. The next game, Houston-Buffalo. This is such an obvious choice. Buffalo just destroyed one of the best defenses in the NFL, and now they're playing against the laughingstock of the NFL, Houston Texans.
I don't really think there's much to discuss here. Buffalo is great. Houston is terrible. Let's go.
Indianapolis versus Miami.
It's in Indiana, so you wouldn't have been.
I wouldn't have been wrong, but it just, oh my, I'm just not okay.
Indianapolis is playing Miami here. I ended up I swear we chose differently on like everything except the obvious ones. All right, so I chose Miami here because Miami, they're coming into this game. They've been okay throughout the year.
Yeah.
It's really only been their defense that's been good. Their offense has been meh.
Yeah.
But nothing has really stood out. I think against the Colts here, without Quentin Nelson, you have something stand out. Something on their team will show up as amazing. Maybe, well, great.
Yeah.
Not quite amazing, but great. So I think you either have maybe that wide receiver core, which has a bunch of guys right there. They could end up being good this week. It could end up being Jacoby Brissett. You don't know. He looked pretty good in last game, and now he's going to be accustomed to that team.
I think Indianapolis is due for a win. I mean, you a couple weeks ago, you almost took down the top team in the NFL, the Rams. You lost by 3, and now you're playing the Dolphins, who don't have their quarterback. It's just, now is the time for you to get this first win. This is the best opportunity you've had all year.
Okay, all right. Well, let's get on into the next game here. The struggling Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. We both ended up choosing the Chiefs
I
here.
feel like this is an obvious pick. I feel like Patrick Mahomes is pissed off, and he's like, if we lose this game, I'm leaving this team and going to...
He just bought a bunch of Whataburgers here. You can't say that.
I don't even know where he'd go. Where would he go?
There is nowhere for him to go.
Like,
He literally owns half the city at this point.
But, like, where would he go?
Exactly. Either way, I think the Chiefs
The
here,
Cowboys.
it's not an obvious pick for me. I think there is a world where Philadelphia ends up winning this.
If they do, I'd probably just stop being a Chiefs fan.
Because the Chiefs' defense has looked awful.
Oh, yeah, because it is awful.
But that offense is good enough that you still have to pretend. You still have to act like they're one of the top teams in the league, because they are, because of that offense. But if that defense can't hold up, that might end up meaning that they start dropping. So we'll have to see. We'll have to monitor this. I think if Kansas City loses here, their season is no longer, are they going to make the Super Bowl? The season is more, will they make the playoffs?
Yeah.
If they lose here. So this is a big game for Kansas City. For Philadelphia, if they beat the Chiefs,
It's their Super Bowl.
you lost to the Cowboys, yeah. But Jalen Hurts hasn't looked bad so far. And it's more of a prove yourself game for Jalen Hurts coming off of last week. Is Jalen Hurts good? Is he not? If he does well this game, I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. If he doesn't, I still think that he's just a running quarterback.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think just Kansas City, they should win this game. This is a Kansas City game to win. If they don't, will they win the division? Who knows?
Definitely not. But anyway, let's get on to the next game. We have the New York Giants versus the New Orleans Saints here. Giants have sucked so far. The New Orleans Saints have been on and off, but week 1, week 3, they were great. Only week 2 was it where they were bad. And this is one of the worst teams in the league here. I got New Orleans winning.
I got New Orleans as well. I had picked the Giants, and I realized there's no way Daniel Jones is beating the Saints. It's Daniel Jones. It's just
if he couldn't beat the Falcons, he can't beat the Saints. No. All right, next game we have the Tennessee Titans versus the New York Jets. Derrick Henry versus the New York Jets. Derrick Henry wins.
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate in it. Next game.
If there wasn't an offensive line, Tennessee would still win.
Yeah, next game.
All right, next game here we have the Washington football team versus the Atlanta Falcons. I chose the Washington football team here. They didn't do great last week, but I see a bounce back here, especially against a bad team like Atlanta.
I still think Calvin really has a good game, but I'm picking Washington to win this one.
And I still dislike that pick.
I still don't care.
Next game here, we have the Arizona Cardinals versus the Los Angeles Rams. LA's coming to this game, hottest team in the league right now. They
very
are
sexy.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh, they're so good.
And they don't even have Jimmy Garoppolo, but they're still that good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to pick the Rams to win this game. I think, don't get me wrong, Arizona's offense is pretty dang good, but they're nothing compared to Matthew Stafford's Rams, bro.
No.
Matthew Stafford has came into this organization and just said.
Well, Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback. He was just stuck on the Lions. So now he's not. He is free, and he's free to win a Super Bowl ring.
You had the Packers in the Super Bowl. You had the Rams as the 5 seed. You had the Cardinals winning the NFC West.
You're right. I still had the Rams making like the NFC Conference Championship.
But
that's not that much worse. So anyway, let's get on to the next game. We have the Seattle Seahawks versus the San Francisco 49ers. I ended up choosing the Niners here. They kept it in par with the Packers up until that final kick by Mason Crosby. But that defense still looked pretty good. And it has been throughout the season. Nick Bosa looked amazing. And I see that continuing against Seattle, who can struggle. I think San Francisco also finds a groove on offense.
I think this is Seattle's bounce back game because they just lost 2 games. In my opinion, they should have won. I mean, they lost to Tennessee, and they gave that game to Tennessee.
Yeah.
They lost to Minnesota, and Minnesota is questionable at the best. So it's very questionable, but I think Seattle's bounce back game is right now.
All right, well, let's get on into the next game here. We have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Denver Broncos. And I love this matchup right now. I feel this game is going to be so fun to watch. You have Denver, who's 3-0 right now. Their defense is looking amazing. Their offense with Teddy Bridgewater is so consistent because it's Teddy Bridgewater that you're not going to do any worse than about 25 points here. Against Baltimore, you might find a little bit more, you might find a little bit less, but it's going to be right there around 25, and this defense will be able to stop Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense enough to the point where 25, 24, 23 points, somewhere in that range, I don't know how much, probably around 24, is going to be enough to beat the Ravens. And that 3-0 streak turns into 4-0.
This is the legitness test for Denver. I don't have them passing. This is the first good team they've played all season long. The past 3 teams have been 0-3, and they just have, in my opinion, they haven't been very impressive against those 3 teams. They've just been able to win the game because of how bad they are. They can just have normal drives. They can go 3 and out a bunch, but they're still putting up the great amount of points because it's how bad those teams were. Baltimore is a very good team. Very good.
And they are not very good. They are good, but because of the injuries that they have sustained,
I still think
they are
they're
no
going to beat
longer
Denver.
very
I still
good.
think they're going to beat Denver.
I can also see that, but also Denver hasn't had to show off. They haven't had to against these
and that's
bad
the problem.
teams.
They need to show off against this game.
And they will, so you have nothing to say that they won't.
I don't think they will.
So, all right, let's get on into the next game here. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Green Bay Packers. We both ended up choosing the Packers here. The Packers are coming into this game. They are now 2-1.
Yep.
They had that scary first game, but they've ended up picking it back off. Aaron Rodgers starting to find his groove a bit here. Aaron Rodgers, really the key point of this team. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be back? Is he not? We're going to find out this game. I think Green Bay wins here. Steelers defense. That's a good question. I hope not, for the sake of keeping Rodgers alive. He will practice in full. He ended up playing last week, didn't he?
No.
I swore
That
he
was
did.
September 7th.
I don't know. But anyway, Steelers defense is still good even without TJ Watt.
He's expected to start practicing.
He is expected to start practicing, which means he'll probably play. So that Steelers defense is still good, and if Rodgers is able to play like he did last week and the weeks before, no problem here for Green Bay, because Pittsburgh is going to, I think, fall behind. Green Bay is going to end up being in the lead, and they'll be able to keep that up because their offense is so good.
Yeah. Tampa Bay versus New England. Homecoming game for Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a sold-out stadium.
Hold on. What?
The favorites are Tampa Bay. I'm going against the odds. And Bill Belichick's going to give you a big Eli Manning double bird to the former Patriots players. And New England is going to stun the world and win against Tampa Bay. I think it's going to happen. And Mac Jones is going to be like, hey, screw you, old man. Don't talk to me.
Were you not just talking about how Gronk and Brady were going to be good? Were you not just saying that?
They're going to be good. But they're not going to be better than Mac Jones.
Did you see Mac Jones last week?
Yep, this is his bounce back week, baby.
I have Tampa Bay winning. I cannot agree with him at all on this.
I'm the only sane person here.
Tampa Bay is going to blow out New England.
Yeah.
Blow out material here for me.
No.
All right.
Las Vegas versus Chargers.
Monday Night Football. This is my favorite game of the week.
This is a real legit test for Las Vegas.
I think this is my favorite game.
I think we can both agree on what's going to happen, but this is really a test for Las Vegas, because if they can win this game,
oh my goodness,
they are scary.
Raiders fans are going to be unbearable.
They're going to be in love with Carl Nassib, especially when Carl Nassib. Why is Carl Nassib running down the edge, butt booty naked? Dude, they will be in love with this John Gruden guy.
What?
Have you not seen that?
No.
They were reviewing the game after Baltimore, Las Vegas, and I think it was Ryan Howard, maybe someone like that, and he goes, "What? I'm gonna tell you. All right, look at this, John. Why is Carl Nassib running down the edge, butt booty naked? I'm gonna tell you why." It's the funniest clip. You have to look it up. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
It's hilarious.
Well, we both ended up choosing the Los Angeles Chargers for this game.
Yeah.
The Chargers are a good team. They beat the Chiefs last week, and that's really...
I could beat the Chiefs by myself.
They have Patrick Mahomes still. You do realize that.
Who's that? I'm better.
They should just play him at defense. No, because they can't risk injury. That's the problem.
Exactly.
If they could play him at defense.
Top a billion guy, dude.
Yeah, you don't want to injure him. But anyway, that is going to close out our weekly predictions. And again, we would get it on into a Q&A section, but based on not posting the last video, we don't have any comments. So make sure to leave a comment below if you want us to answer any questions, because we'd love to interact with you guys. But also make sure to like the video while you're down there, and subscribe if you aren't already. Hit that bell. Make sure to get notifications on when every video is going to come out. We usually try and post these every Thursday. We record on Wednesdays, so make sure to stay in tune for that. But either way, we thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoy this video, and we will see you guys later. Peace!